So in this video, I'm going to go over game 3 from Prep Test 67. A toy retailer is opening a small satellite store with exactly 3 aisles, numbered 1 lowest to 3 highest. Okay, so I am actually going to keep that in mind because sometimes we will intuitively assume that 1 is high because we will think about it as a ranking, you know, like first place is the highest. But in this case, we're talking about, you know, a low number versus a higher number. 6 sections. So these are our players. Fantasy, hobbies, music, puzzles, reading, and science will each be confined to exactly 1 aisle, with each aisle containing at least 1 of the sections. So I'm going to add a space for each of the aisles to indicate I have to fill that space, right? That's the minimum of 1. And we are going to put all of the 6 sections into an aisle, so and none of them can be doubled. All right, reading must be located in the same aisle as either fantasy or music. Okay, so we have reading and fantasy or reading and music. Now, or is inclusive here, so it's possible that we have the 3 of them together at this point. There's nothing to prevent that from happening, okay? You don't necessarily have to write that out, but I just want to note that because it doesn't tell us that we can't have reading with both, we know at this stage that's still a possibility. Fantasy must be located in a lower numbered aisle than both music and puzzles, so F has to be lower than music and puzzles. Okay, at this stage, we know that F and M can't be in the same aisle because F has to be lower numbered than M. Okay, so that's where we can eliminate that possibility. And then R is just going to join one of them. Science must be located in a lower numbered aisle than puzzles. We still have the option of just sort of filling up 2 of the aisles as much as we can and having a single one, you know, left in a particular aisle, like just one section. Science cannot be located in a lower numbered aisle than hobbies. So we cannot have hobbies be higher than science. We could have science and hobbies together. That's possible. Or we could have hobbies lower than science. Those are our 2 options. But yeah, that's not allowed. All right. If aisle 1 contains hobbies only, so I'm actually going to use pencil here to add this in, and then I'll erase it as I need to. So hobbies only, so that one's done. That means that I only have 2 aisles left. I know S has to be lower than P. I know F has to be lower than M. And the only player that I have left to place is R, which is in either 2 or 3. Okay. What could be true? Fantasy in aisle 3, nope. Music in aisle 2, nope. Puzzles aisle 2, no. Reading aisle 3. Yeah, reading could be in aisle 3. And science in aisle 3, no. So D is the correct answer there. Right. If aisle 3 contains puzzles only, okay, so just puzzles, then that one's kind of taken out, right? So I do know that F has to be before M, and I know that R is going to be with one of these two. Don't know which one. And then with S and H, I could either have them together in one, together in two, or I could split them up and have H in one and S in two. But really that means that they could be anywhere. So what must be true is that fantasy is in aisle 1 and music is in aisle 2. So A is the correct answer. Okay. If each aisle contains exactly 2 of the 6 sections. All right, so 2 per aisle. How can I make that happen? I could have, so I'm just going to start kind of trialing some things. So I could have M and P, F and R, and S and H. Seems like a possibility, right? So F is before M, F is also before P, so I'm conserving those relationships. And we have P before S and H, and we have F and R together, so I'm following all of the rules. So if that's the case, science must be located in the same aisle as hobbies, right? So, okay, so all I've done here is create one acceptable solution, right? How do I know that science can't be with some other player in another scenario? Now, the key here is in the way the question is asked. So whatever has to be true, whatever the correct answer is, it has to be true in every possible scenario. So it has to be true in this scenario. And they're being very specific, right? So they're asking specifically about which other section science has to be with, right, in the same aisle. And so just the fact that, it's hard to articulate why exactly that is. So if it had just asked me if each aisle contains exactly 2 of the 6 sections, which one of the following must be true? And then it had science and hobbies together as an option, I wouldn't be able to choose that one simply based on a single acceptable scenario. But because they focus on science, knowing that there's even just one scenario where science and hobbies have to be together is enough to get me to the correct answer here. There isn't going to be a way around it. It's, yeah, I'm really struggling, sorry, to find a way to articulate that deduction that I'm making versus another scenario where you're just being asked what must be true and you only have this one acceptable scenario. I mean, I can certainly explain further like why there's no other option, like why it's not possible to separate H and S, and make sure that you have 2 per aisle. So the reason for that is that S would have to be in aisle 2. Okay, so S would have to be in aisle 2. H would have to be in aisle 1 and P would have to be in aisle 3, right? So if we were going to separate them, we do have to leave space between these guys if we're dealing with this scenario rather than this one. Now, we have F and M left over that have to be separated, But what we can't do is just add one, each of these individually to aisles and then have the remaining player fill the third empty spot. And the reason for that is the remaining player is R. So one of these is going to have R in addition. So we can't, for example, have FRM because R is supposed to be with one of these two. So we wouldn't be able to make that work. What we could do is we could have F and R down here and put H here, but then we're still going to have science and hobbies together. So hopefully that explains why this isn't going to fit with this question-specific condition, but that other deduction that I'm making where a single acceptable scenario is enough to get the right answer here when typically that's not the case for a must be true question, that I'm just having trouble articulating. So sorry, hopefully I haven't wasted too much of your time just struggling to find that wording. Hopefully it'll come to me at some point and I can revisit this. Okay. All right. Which one of the following cannot be the list of the sections located in aisle 2? So could you have hobbies and music? No. No, you can't. And we can't do that because if we don't have hobbies with science, then hobbies has to be in aisle 1. So if hobbies is in aisle 2, it has to have science with it. So D would be fine, but A is not. If aisle 2 contains science only, okay, so then we have to separate hobbies and science. And puzzles is, going to be on the other side. Okay, so science only. F has to be before M, so F is there, M is there, and R, as always, is kind of the last one because we don't know if it goes with M or F. So each of the following must be true except the only thing that varies is the position of reading. So if we scan through and we see E is the one that contains reading, reading located in aisle 1 doesn't have to be true. It could be located in aisle 3. And that's the correct answer. Okay, I hope that helps. I hope I didn't spend too much time there just floundering. My apologies for that. If you have any other questions, please let me know.